It was a stormy night. I was sitting in my room calmly reading a book, and it was the time when I least wanted for something to happen because I was exhausted as hell and just wanted to read a book. But then I heard loud panting on the door. Worried and confused about who could possibly be visiting me at this hour, I opened the door and sighed immediately. This is one of the worst things that could happen. I found Jungkook on the door, my sworn enemy, my nemesis, my rival. He was standing on my doorstep, drenched in both blood and sweat. I narrowed my eyes as I took in his appearance. What the words came out of my mouth, but he immediately cut them off. Jungkook, are you just gonna stare, or are you going to let me in? Before I could say something, he barged inside like he owned the place. What the hell do you think you are doing? Why are you in my house at this hour? He ignored my words as he walked, dripping water and blood on the carpet. Without even looking at me, he said, "A towel would help, you know." His voice was frustrated, but still, this was the first time he asked for something in a nicer tone to me. This was actually bad. If he was talking to me in that tone that he never had used before, something real bad happened to him. Confused, I quietly handed him a towel. I just stared at him, waiting for him to explain himself as he dried himself. The sight of blood never made me uneasy. It was daily life for us. His soft shirt was half torn apart, revealing his masculine body halfway. I cleared my throat and asked him, "Just say something, will you?" "You got into a fight. I get that. But why the hell did you come here? Did you feel the urge to piss me off, even when you're in this situation?" He rolled his eyes and said loudly, "Shut up for a second, will you? I just need a while, and I will go away." He tried walking to the couch, but stumbled halfway. I instinctively held him. There was a moment of awkward silence as we both looked at each other before I let him go. Um, I will get the first aid kit. Just sit down. He stayed quiet. He was in a lot of pain. He winced as he sat down. I could feel his cold and unwavering gaze on me as I took the kit and approached him. I sat down opposite him. "Sure," I said quietly. He hesitated but took it off with a frustrated grunt. I then gently started to dab the cotton on his injury slowly, feeling his eyes on me all the while. Our bodies were close to each other. My fingers gently grazed over his bruised skin. "Stay still, will you?" I asked. He grumbled something that I couldn't hear, his eyes never leaving me. "Jungkook, you have grown to care for me, huh?" Even in this state, he refused to lose an opportunity to torment me. I hugged. "We can't let you go that easily now." He chuckled, but I didn't look at him, although I could feel his mirth. Sound of his laugh was rich, deep, and laced with pain. "Jungkook, oh yeah? You would miss me too much." I gritted my teeth and purposely tapped too hard on his phone. He winced. "What the hell?" I smiled. "Don't get too smart with me, okay? I'm only doing this because you showed up in the middle of the night, drenched in blood. It would be my responsibility if you died without getting tortured and answering some real questions." I could feel his smirk as he watched me, studied my every moment. "Jungkook, is that the only reason? Nothing more?" "Well, Jungkook and Vine belong to different mafia groups, the groups that are sworn enemy of each other, and Jungkook and Vine are just victims of their parents' rivalry. and learn to hate you too. And they're not just typical enemies, they're always planning for the other's downfall in the worst possible way, while being careful not to do something childish that could immediately result in a war between the two families without being prepared. Jungkook and Vine have met a few times before, although they hate each other. They admit that if they don't tease each other for a few days, their days get boring. They always need something to do to frustrate each other. I could feel his smirk as he watched me, studied my every moment. Jungkook, is that the only reason? Nothing more? My eyes narrowed, still fixed on his phone. Whatever game you're playing, stop. I'm in no interest for a conversation with you. Let me get this over with so you can leave. He kept watching me, his gaze roaring into my soul, wanting to get rid of this intense environment. I asked him, finally, what happened anyway? Just one of your stupid childish fights, I presume? He didn't say anything, but kept staring at me. I paused and gritted my teeth. Can you stop staring at me? He chuckled loudly, the sound sending a shiver down my spine. Jungkook. And why would I do that, princess? His voice was cold and husky. I finally met his gaze. The contact felt electrifying. I swallowed. Jungkook, I'm helping you. That's all. A simple thank you would do instead of your cockiness. He smirked. My breath hitched as he leaned in closer. Jungkook, you love it too, princess. Don't act like you don't. I composed myself and hugged. Did you hurt your head too? I guess it's not at the right place anymore. He smirked. Maybe. But just so you know, your eyes tell a different story. He leaned in closer, and my heartbeat quickened. Simple. I can tell how much you like our little back and forth. Believe me, princess, I love it. And I know you do too. His voice was real deep. His face was inches from mine. His battered body almost pressed against mine. My body did betray me. A shiver ran down my spine, and my heart was racing. I could feel his hot breath on my skin, his dark eyes staring into my soul, his smirk widening as he picked up the responses from my body. I hate you. I managed to say, although my voice was shaky. His smirk turned into a smile. His hands snaked up around my waist, making me gasp and a sudden proximity. No, you don't, princess. You don't. He whispered in the deepest voice possible, making our lips meet. His lips were warm, contrasting sharply with the chill of his damp skin. I stiffened, my hands tightening around a cotton pad still in my grasp. He was hurt, bleeding, barely standing minutes ago, and yet he played his dangerous games like he always did. I shoved him back, hardly, but then after a few seconds, I realized that I was only imagining it. I didn't do anything like pushing him away. He was still kissing me, and I was still frozen at my place. And to top it up, he was enjoying it. I hugged in between the kiss, and he broke it himself. Jungkook let out a low chuckle, his back hitting the couch. He winced and asked, you enjoyed it, princess? His heavy breathing told me that he wasn't as unshaken as he wanted to appear. I threw the blood-stained cotton onto the coffee table, frustration bubbling inside me as I shouted out loud. You show up at my doorstep, half dead, demand my help, and then you. I exhaled sharply, running a hand through my hair. What the hell do you want from me, Jungkook? His gaze darkened slightly. Jungkook, I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to see if you would throw me out. He leaned back, resting his arm over the couch. Jungkook, you didn't. I crossed my arms and said, because you looked like you were about to collapse. Jungkook, so you do care. I paused for a second and then groaned, turning away before I did something drastic, like punch him into his already bruised face. I'm done here. Finish cleaning yourself up and leave. Jungkook didn't move. I turned back, glaring. What now? His smirk faded, and his tone got serious when he suddenly started. I wasn't just in a fight. I frowned. What do you mean? He exhaled slowly, eyes flickering toward the window where the storm still raged outside. Jungkook. There was an ambush. Someone sold us out. It wasn't a random street war. It was planned. I swallowed. And you barely got out? Jungkook. Something like that. They were waiting for me specifically. He stretched, wincing again as his stretches threatened to open. A chill ran down my spine. I had known Jungkook for years, long enough to understand the weight behind his voice. If someone targeted him personally, this wasn't just another skirmish between our families. This was something bigger. And yet, despite the danger, despite the blood drying on his skin, he had come here, to me. Why did you come here, Jungkook? I asked quietly. He looked at me for a long moment before answering. Jungkook, because I didn't know where else to go.